Hello my dear friends. Well, this is CA Shivateja in front of you. I am a qualified chartered accountant and a cost accountant. Have been in teaching for more than 10 years now and have taught close to some more than 15,000 students, and I am a faculty for indirect taxes both at CA Inter as well as CA final level. And I am in front of you right now with something very exciting and very interesting, especially what a lot of students have been waiting for. Yes, you are right, my dear friends. I'm in front of you with some amazing revision videos, both for GST as well as for customs. Now, please don't think that I will stop with revision on GST, and I'm going to do good amount of revision both for GST as well as customs. And the idea of this revision videos, my dear friends, is very simple. Two purposes will be satisfied by these revision videos, what I'm going to make it available in my YouTube channel Shivateja Tax Classes. These are freely available. There is no need for any payment to be made. You can directly open my YouTube channel and start watching the videos. Of course, make sure that you like, share and subscribe the videos too after you enjoy watching the videos. Come on. Now, the first fundamental point which I want to tell you very clearly, my dear friends, the idea of these revision videos will serve two purposes. Purpose number one, those who already have good amount of knowledge and already taken regular classes coaching, be it with me or with some other faculty, regular coaching is already done. Then, for the sake of revising the concept and to be sure that you are perfect with all the concepts, these revision videos will be very helpful. That is category 1. Category 2 is also there. Those students who already wrote the exam in the previous attempt but could not make it for any reason whatsoever, and they have little less time to take the coaching once again, and they are already comfortable with the subject knowledge and they want a quick glance over all the concepts of GST and customs. Then for those category of students, this revision videos what I am making will be very helpful and highly useful, which will make you perfect in all the concepts. And the whole idea of Shivateja doing this revision videos is very simple. The students who are already perfect in the concepts should have a good amount of revision, my dear friends. Second category, students who are having some sort of concern or problem or lack of perfection in some concepts, they will become absolutely perfect with these revision videos. Any gap in any concept, that gap will be filled by all the revision videos what I am taking up for you. And I'll start with the first video, that is the concept of supply. Then I'll move forward with the concept of time of supply, place of supply, registration. We will deal with refunds, assessment and audit. I'll also talk about liability to pay tax in certain cases, demands and recovery, almost all the major topics of GST. And also certain important topics of customs such as valuation, duty drawback, refunds, all these important topics, types of duty, classification, all these topics I'll discuss with you, my dear friends. And of course, I'll not trouble you by repeating everything once again, but the whole idea is all about revising every concept in a simple, crisp and easy manner. That is why we will call it as revision videos. And if you get it out in your brain, sir, how long will this revision video be? Is it for half an hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, or 2 hours? My only point is, it depends upon the type of topic what we are dealing. Some topics, the video can be 1 hour. Some topics, the video can be half an hour. Some topics, video can be 1.5 hours. Some topic, video can be 2 hours also. It depends upon the type of topic what I am discussing with you. So, basis that type of topic, the length of video will change. But it is my responsibility to make sure that you get the entire concept in a very crisp, simple and easy manner. That is my job. Clear? Makes sense, right? Wonderful. So today in the first video, we will start with revision on the concept of supply, my dear friends. Come on. So first foremost interesting point, when I talk about supply, this word supply is a very, very important word, my dear friends, for a simple language, because taxable event under GST law is supply. That means if the transaction is not a supply, then GST will not apply. That is why we keep saying that GST will apply only if the transaction is supply. If the transaction is not a supply, then GST will not apply. So ultimately it is very important that any transaction you do, if it falls within the definition of supply, only then GST will come. If not, there is no question of GST. And let me tell you, my dear friends, this word supply has got good amount of importance, because prior to GST law, we used to use the word sale of goods, buying and selling of goods, providing or rendering services. But under GST law, we do not have a word called providing or rendering. We do not have a word called sale of goods, but the only one word what we have is supply. And in supply, there are two types of supply called outward supply and inward supply. Outward supply is something like your sales. Inward supply is something like your purchases. As simple as that. Come on. Now, my dear friends, first point, let me tell you, whenever we start with the word called supply, let me tell you, supply is of two types, my dear friends. That is intrastate supply and interstate supply. And in case of intrastate supply, we charge CGST and SGST. And for interstate supply, we charge IGST, my dear friends. If the rate of GST is 18%, and if the supply is intrastate supply, we will charge 9% and 9%. But if it is interstate supply, directly we will charge IGST at the rate of 18%, my dear friends. If it is intrastate supply, then 9% and 9%. If it is interstate supply, directly we will charge 18%. Now, before I go to what is intrastate supply, what is interstate supply, I will teach that difference between intrastate supply and interstate supply in the chapter called place of supply. So now let's not worry about what is difference between intrastate and interstate, but let's once quickly revise what is the concept of supply and what is the meaning of supply. Come on, friends. Now let me tell you, this concept of supply is dealt by section 7 of CGST Act. I'm sure everybody watching the video is aware very clearly that at CA final level in your syllabus, you have almost entire CGST Act and also some good number of sections of IGST Act also. And IGST Act is very relevant to learn the concept of place of supply and to also learn the concept of order services and to learn the concept of zero rated supply. For those things, IGST Act is very relevant. But rest all the things are covered by CGST Act itself. And in section 7 of CGST Act, it deals with the concept of what is the meaning of supply. And let me tell you, my dear friends, 7 is divided into 7.1, 7.1a, 7.2 and last one is 7.3, my dear friends. Come on, 7 is divided into 7.1, 7.1a, 7.2 and 7.3. And 7.1 has got further classification of 7.1a, 7.1b and 7.1c, my dear friends. Come on. 7.1 has got further classification of 7.1a, 7.1b and 7.1c. What is that? Let's once revise. You would have already learnt, but still let me revise. Come on. 7.1a is also there, my dear friends. And 7.2 has got further classification of 7.2a as well as 7.2b. Last one is 7.3, my dear friends. Now first let me tell you, 7.1a talks about what are regarded as supply of goods and what are the transactions regarded as supply of service. And in fact, 7.1a is read with schedule 2, my dear friends. Under CGST Act, we have got 3 schedules. In that schedule 2 talks about transactions which are either regarded as supply of goods or regarded as supply of service. That means it is either goods or it is service. And generally, my dear friends, let me tell you, goods, what is service, and under goods we have got one major interesting point, that is transfer of right with transfer of title. Come on, my dear friends, what is the language I wrote, sir? Transfer of right with transfer of title. That means ownership also gone. Not just right is transferred, along with the right, ownership is also transferred. That is why we use the word called transfer of right with the transfer of title. So right is also given, title is also given. Right basically refers to usage benefit and title refers to ownership, and in service we use the word called transfer of right without transfer of title. So if just a good is used, if any good is used but title is not transferred, then it is regarded as service. For example, hiring of motor vehicle. If we take a motor vehicle on rent, it is called a service because we got a right but we did not get a title. That is why it is called as service. But in goods, my dear friends, there should be a transfer of right along with transfer of title. Either immediately, this word is important, my dear friends, either immediately or at future date. Either immediately or at future date, my dear friends. Very interesting point. Transfer of right without transfer of title. Either immediately, I mean to say with the transfer of title for goods, transfer of right with the transfer of title either immediately or at future date. That means title can be transferred straight away immediately itself, or it can pass at future date. And classic example for future date, what we say is hire purchase system. Sir, we all know the difference between hire purchase system and installment system. Hire purchase system is that system where ownership will pass on payment of last installment. Installment system is that system where ownership will pass on payment of first installment. Now, whether title is passed immediately, or title is passed at future date, still it is regarded as supply of goods. And we will call supply of service when there is a transfer of right without transfer of title. Transfer of right without transfer of title. Next, one more classic example, my dear friends. Development of any softwares, or another example, job work, my dear friends. Job work, we all know this word. Job work is a case where we give the raw materials and ask the person to manufacture finished goods and give back to us. For example, sir, when we go to a tailor, we give a shirt cloth piece and ask that person to stitch the shirt and give back to us. Now, what the tailor is doing is technically called as job work. Job work means basically we give the materials and get the work done. Job work is regarded as service. Next point, my dear friends, very classical point. Next point basically is restaurant or catering activity. Sir, once upon a time, prior to GST law, when we used to go to restaurant, they used to charge VAT, they used to charge service tax also, because they used to say there is a supply of goods, there is a sale of goods, let's charge VAT. There is a service element also involved, let's charge service tax also. Both VAT as well as service tax, both were charged. But under GST law, it has been clearly clarified that restaurant or catering activity is deemed to be service. I repeat one more time, friends. Under GST law, it has been clearly clarified that restaurant or catering activity is deemed to be service. Last one, works contract, my dear friends. Now, what is works contract? Sir, the word works contract exists only in case of immovable property. For example, sir, I call one painter and I tell him, boss, you only bring paint boxes and you should paint this entire room. Then what is given to me is called works contract. Sir, let's say I bring a paint box and give it to the painter and tell the painter you paint the room. Then what the painter is doing for me, it is called as service. But I tell the painter, you only bring the paint box and you should do the painting. Then what he is doing is called works contract. Now, works contract is a contract where there is element of goods as well as service. But prior to GST law, they used to bifurcate what is the element of goods, and on that element of goods they charged VAT, and they bifurcated what is element of service, and on that element of service they charge service tax. But under GST law, works contract activity is deemed to be a service. I repeat one more time, friends. Under GST law, works contract activity is deemed to be a service, my dear friends. Very, very interesting and important points. Makes sense, right? And these points are given by, let me tell you, my dear friends, Schedule 2. given by section 7(1)(a). Section 7(1)(a) says transactions referred to in schedule 2 are either regarded as supply of goods or regarded as supply of service. So they basically talk about whether it is goods or whether it is service. That's all. One small multiple choice question can come in exam where they might give a transaction and ask you whether it is service or it is goods. That is important. So if you have a clarity of thought, then you can definitely answer, my dear friends. And the major point in goods is very clear that there should be a transfer of right with the transfer of title. If it is without transfer of title, we call it as service. And with the transfer of title, the point to be noted is that title may pass either immediately or a future date. Future date classic example is installment system or hire purchase system. Hire purchase is more popular because at least in installment system, ownership will pass on payment of first installment. But in hire purchase system, ownership will pass on payment of last installment. Getting clarity, right? Fantastic, my dear friends. Very, very interesting and excellent concept. No doubt about it. Clear? Good. Come on. So as I was just mentioning to you, my dear friends, section 7 is divided into 7(1), 7(1)(a), 7(2) and 7(3). And I just explained to you what is section 7(1)(a). Now let me discuss with you section 7(1). And as I was mentioning, my dear friends, 7(1) is divided into 7(1)(a), 7(1)(b) and 7(1)(c). Now what are the points here? Let me explain that to you, friends. 7(1)(a) says, come on, please listen. 7(1)(a) says, supply includes all forms of supply of goods or services or both, such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease or disposal. Come on, my dear friends. So many points are covered here. What are all covered? Come on. Supply includes all forms of supply of goods. Every form of supply of goods or services or both. And I'm sure you all guys know very clearly that GST word is defined by Article 366(12)(a) of the Constitution, which clearly says that GST is a tax on supply of goods or services or both, except alcohol liquor for human consumption. Sir, alcoholic liquor for human consumption is one such product which is permanently kept outside GST. And it is also important to note that there are 5 petroleum products which have been temporarily kept outside GST. Now what are that 5 petroleum products? Let me explain that to you. Petroleum crude, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas and aviation turbine fuel. These 5 petroleum products have been temporarily kept outside GST. Getting clarity, right? Come on, see now. Supply includes all forms of supply of goods or services or both, such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease or disposal, made or agreed to be made. Come on, friends. The language used is made or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person in course or furtherance of business. Come on, friends, what a brilliant language they have given in the law. Come on, supply includes what? All forms of supply of goods or services or both. Everything is covered, such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease or a disposal, made or agreed to be made. That means what? Which is done or yet to be done. For what? For a consideration. Now what is consideration, my dear friends? Let me tell you, this word consideration is defined by section 231, which says consideration means something in return, which can be monetary or non-monetary. And also an interesting point to be noted, friends, consideration does not include 2 things. two things are not covered in the definition of consideration. Number one, refundable deposits unless appropriated by supplier. Come on, what is the first one? Refundable deposits unless appropriated by supplier. Number two, my dear friends, that is subsidy received from central government or state government. Subsidy received from central government or state government. These two are not considered in the definition of consideration, but in general, consideration means something in return, which can be in monetary form or in non-monetary form. So supply includes all forms of supply of goods or services or both, such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease or disposal, made or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person. Now who is a person? Person covers individual, HUF, company, AOP, BOI, AJP, and let me tell you friends, person definition under GST law covers government also. Clear, right? So made or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person in the course or furtherance of business. Let me tell you friends, the difference between course or furtherance is that course means doing something what you are doing. Furtherance is something like expansion of business, and business also covers profession. Now there is also a possibility where one-time activity is also called as business. For example, a painter has done one fantastic painting and in whole year only one painting is done and it is sold. It is still regarded as business because it is in the course of business, my dear friends. Clear, right? Now I have a question here. Now let's say Shivateja has got one gold ring with me. I have got what? One gold ring with me, which became very old. So I went to Lalita Jewellers to exchange my old gold ring and I have taken a new gold ring there. So basically exchange word is covered in supply definition. Now, is this transaction supply, my dear friends? Answer is yes. But from the point of view of Lalita Jewellers, it is supply because Lalita Jewellers has done that exchange activity in the course or furtherance of business. But from Shivateja's point of view, it is not course or furtherance of business because Shivateja is not a jewelry dealer. So it is very important that it should be done in the course or furtherance of business. Clear, right? Come on. So supply includes last time. Supply includes all forms of supply of goods or services or both, such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease or disposal, made or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person in the course or furtherance of business. Clear? Good. Next, 7.1b talks about import of services. So what is covered here is only import. That too, what is covered is import of services, not import of goods. Import of services for a consideration. That means consideration is there. Import of services for a consideration, whether or not in course or furtherance of business. Come on, my dear friends, a fantastic language. What is the language used? Import of services for a consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. That means whether we import for business use or we import for personal use, still it is regarded as supply because the word used is import of services for a consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. So even though if we import for personal use, still it is regarded as supply. Classic example, friends, Netflix. This is a very popular example which I keep giving to the students. So Netflix is something which is outside India, and lot of people in India are making payment to Netflix to get their subscription, to watch their TV shows, serials, movies, whatnot. So we are importing services and we are making a payment. That means for a consideration, and we have not imported for business use. We have imported for personal use. But still, let me tell you, my dear friends, that transaction is still regarded as supply. And this point is given by 7.1b, which clearly says import of services for a consideration, and the highlight is whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. So even though it is personal use, still it is regarded as supply. Clear? Last one. 7.1c, my dear friends, is dealt by Schedule 1, which talks about transactions regarded as supply, even though there is no consideration. So this is very crazy concept, and of course an interesting important concept. Why? Because this talks about something called transactions regarded as supply even though there is no consideration. That means consideration is not there, but still it is regarded as supply. Sir, generally if you look at section 7.1a, there is a word called for a consideration. 7.1b, there is a word called for a consideration. But 7.1c, we are using the word called even though consideration is not there, still regarded as supply. Sir, generally when we tell a person to pay tax, when there is consideration, he will start crying. Now we are talking about a case where, sir, please pay tax even though there is no consideration. That fellow will be completely in tears, obviously, because we are talking about a case where transactions regarded as supply even though there is no consideration. Consideration is not there, but still it is supply. Such a dangerous point. Come on, see what is covered here. First one, only 4 points are there. Very simple and easy. Let me complete that. Permanent transfer or disposal of business asset on which ITC is claimed. Come on, friends, an interesting language. What is the language, sir? Permanent transfer or disposal of business asset on which ITC is claimed. For example, my dear friends, Shivateja, let's say Shivateja purchased one laptop. When I buy the laptop, I'll obviously claim input tax credit on that laptop. Whatever GST I paid on the laptop, I'll claim it as input tax credit. Now let's say this laptop I disposed of, that means I scrapped it, or let's say I gave it as donation to somebody. Even though I gave it as donation, still I have to pay GST, because law is telling even though there is no consideration, still it is regarded as supply. So if Shivateja is donating a laptop, still it is regarded as supply, because on that laptop Shivateja claimed input tax credit. Very logical also, my dear friends, because please understand, government gave input tax credit to Shivateja because Shivateja is going to use that laptop for business purpose. Now without using that laptop for business purpose, if I straight away sell that laptop, then why government will keep quiet? Then they told permanent transfer or disposal of business asset on which ITC is claimed is regarded as supply. No doubt about it. Clear? Now don't get it out. Sir, what if ITC is not claimed? If ITC is not claimed, no problem. It is not a supply. Second, you would have heard this in regular classes. Come on, let's revise. Next point. Supplies between distinct or related persons in course or furtherance of business. Supplies between whom, my dear friends? Distinct or related persons in the course or furtherance of business. That means it should be done in the course or furtherance of business. Now who are distinct persons? You would have heard this word distinct persons, my dear friends. And generally we say that distinct person is that case where PAN is same but GST number is different. That is possible because reason number one, under a GST law, we need to obtain separate registration in every state. So for example, if Shivateja has got business in Telangana also, Karnataka also. In Telangana I will take GST registration, Karnataka also I will take GST registration. But my PAN is only one, income tax PAN. PAN is only one, but GST number is different. So if PAN is same, but GST number is different, then we call it as distinct persons. And within the same state, a person can take separate registration for multiple place of business. Within the same state, for multiple place of business, separate registration can be obtained. But of course, it is not mandatory. Separate state, separate registration is mandatory. But within the same state, separate registration for each place of business is not mandatory, but it is optional. So supplies between distinct or related persons in the course or furtherance of business. Now, who are related persons? Let me tell you, friends, related persons is defined by the law, which says employer and employee, legally recognized partner. One person directly or indirectly controls the other. Correct? So I am controlling you or you are controlling me. Next possibility, we both are controlled by third person or we both are together controlling third person. And last possibility, one of them is a sole agent or distributor. Another point is that they are members of same family. And let me make you recollect, my dear friends, this word family is defined by the law, where they clearly told section 249, which says that family is divided into two parts. Two part means definition is in two parts. First one, spouse and children of the individual. Second, parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters. If they are dependent wholly or mainly, that means for Shivateja, my spouse and my child are always related persons, whether they are dependent on me or not. So spouse and children are always related persons, whether dependent or not. But other point is that parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters are related persons only if they are dependent, that too wholly or mainly, that means completely dependent or majorly dependent on the individual. Then we regard them as members of family. For example, sir, Shivateja is there. Now Mrs. Shivateja is not dependent on me. When I say not dependent on me, she is not financially dependent on me. Now tell me, are we both related persons? Answer is yes. Because for Shivateja's wife is always related person, whether dependent or not. But parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters are related persons only if they are dependent, wholly or mainly. Clear, right? Come on. So what is the first point we just discussed? Permanent transfer or disposal of business assets on which ITC is claimed. Second point, supplies between distinct or related persons in the course or furtherance of business. Next. Third point, my dear friends, supply of goods from principal to agent. Whenever goods are transferred by principal to agent, that is also regarded as supply, even though there is no consideration. So strictly speaking, principal is not selling the goods to agent. He is only sending the goods to agent, and tomorrow agent will supply the goods on behalf of principal and agent will get commission. Correct, right? So interesting point here is that they told the concept that supply of goods from principal to agent is regarded as supply, even though there is no consideration. Now one interesting special point to be observed here is that, sir, there is a principal, there is an agent. Principal will send the goods to agent. Now agent will subsequently sell to customer. Now the point is that when agent is selling to the customer, if agent is giving invoice to the customer in agent's own name, if agent is giving invoice to the customer in agent's own name, then the transaction between principal to agent is taxable. But let's say when agent is supplying goods to the customer, agent is giving invoice to the customer in the name of the principal. If agent is giving invoice to the customer in the name of the principal, then the transaction between principal to agent is not taxable. So friends, the bottom line is very clear that the transaction between principal to agent is taxable only if agent is subsequently giving invoice to the customer in agent's own name. That's it. Come on. So we're talking about Schedule 1 dealt by section 7(1)(c), which talks about transactions regarded as supply, even though there is no consideration. In that 3 points done, my dear friends, let's look at the last point. The last point talks about import of services from a related person. This word is important. From a related person or from any of his establishment or from any of his establishment outside India in course or furtherance of business. Come on, my dear friends, an interesting language we have used here. What is the language we used? Import of services from whom? We have done import of service from a related person or from any of his establishment outside India, and that too we have done in the course or furtherance of business. Sir, 7.1b was talking about import of services for a consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. The word used there is whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. But in 7.1c, the word used is in the last line, in the course or furtherance of business. But you have to keep in mind that 7.1b will come into picture only when there is a consideration, and 7.1c will come into picture only when there is no consideration. So you tell your brain very clearly, your brain should activate 7.1c only in the question when they say that there is no consideration. Only in the question when they say that there is no consideration, your brain should activate 7.1c. If consideration is there, then 7.1c will not come. Either 7.1a will come or 7.1b will come, but 7.1c will not come. 7.1c should come only when there is no consideration. That's it. Clear, right? So friends, before I move forward, I will give you clarity of thought on one last point, friends. Basis the above table what I discussed, so that we'll be clear with that concept and we become completely perfect with that. Listen, come on. Please concentrate. Sir, the idea of all these revision videos is only for you. For your benefit, we are doing all this. So I strongly believe that you guys get a complete flair of the concept and tremendous clarity on the concept. Because ultimately, I want to make sure that you guys are completely clear with the concept. That is why I'm doing these revision videos. Very simple. And I'll make it very crisp, simple and easy. Come on. So when I talk about import of services, my dear friends, one small summary I'll do it. You can simply concentrate. For consideration, other side, without consideration. For consideration, that too in course or furtherance, not in course or furtherance. Without consideration, in course or furtherance, not in course or furtherance. First point, in both the cases, my dear friends, definitely the transaction is supply because of section 7.1b. Because 7.1b clearly says import of services for a consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. But right side, without consideration, if it is not in the course or furtherance of business, it is not a supply. If it is in the course or furtherance of business, then again we'll divide from related person and not a related person. If it is not a related person, then straight away it is not a supply. If it is from related person, then it becomes a supply. That too because of section 7.1c. So please keep in mind, 7.1c will trigger only in cases where there is no consideration. And that too, last point clearly told, import of services from a related person or from any of his establishment outside India, but it must be in the course or furtherance of business. That language is very important. I'm sure with this we got full clarity of thought. Sir, if you are perfect already, I'm more than happy. If you are not perfect, somewhere some gap is there, I want to fill all that gaps through all these revision videos. Revision videos will help only two category of persons. One, perfect in concept, but they want to revise once again. Second, not yet perfect, little gap is there, that gap will be filled. Nothing you know, then only revision videos will not be sufficient. Only revision videos will not be sufficient. If you know something, then revision videos will help you to know something more better. That's the whole point. Clear, right? That's it. This is about import of services. So friends, I completed discussion with you about 7.1a, 7.1b, 7.1c, and of course I've also done discussion about 7.1a also. 7.1a clearly deals with the concept of what's there? What are the transactions which are regarded either as supply of goods or regarded as supply of service. Now an interesting point in this context to be noted is, listen, when I talk about goods taken out of India for exhibition purpose, come on my dear friends, goods are taken outside India for what purpose my dear friends? Exhibition. That means in foreign country some exhibition is going on. Now for the purpose of that exhibition some goods are taken outside India. Now straight away this is not a supply, because to regard it as supply there must be a consideration. Now when you take the goods outside India for exhibition, it is not a supply at all, because you take the goods outside India for exhibition and some customer might come to that exhibition and might like your products, and if he like the product, that time he will buy and that time supply will take place. Now just because some goods are taken to the exhibition, it is not regarded as supply at all. And when it is not a supply, we don't call it as zero rated supply also. Correct, right? That is why we have got one interesting special point in supply, that is in case where some artistic works or artworks are taken by artist to art gallery for exhibition purpose, it is not regarded as supply, because artworks taken by artist to art gallery, it is not a supply, because no consideration flows from art gallery to artist. Always keep in mind, if there is no consideration, we don't call it as supply unless the transaction is covered in section 7.1c. So in general, no consideration, then it is not a supply unless the transaction is covered in 7.1c. Please keep in mind, if consideration is not there, then we will never call it as supply. Clear, right? Come on. Next interesting point, friends. They have clarified that service by way of grant of alcoholic liquor license is, now who will grant this license my dear friends? Let me tell you, state government will grant this alcoholic liquor license. They have clarified that service by way of grant of alcoholic liquor license is neither regarded as supply of goods nor supply of service. So it's an interesting clarification what they have given my dear friends, that service by way of grant of alcoholic liquor license is neither regarded as supply of goods nor regarded as supply of service. Clear? Now, another interesting point. So let's say there is a temple. Now Shiva Teja, let's say, gave a donation of 1 lakh to temple. Now in temple, they have put one donors list and they wrote there Shiva Teja 1 lakh. Now just because they wrote the word Shiva Teja 1 lakh in the donors list, my dear friends, do you mean to say that any advertisement is coming to Shiva Teja? Answer is no. I did not give 1 lakh to the temple because I want advertisements. You need to understand that. Donation is made to a charitable institution. And the purpose is philanthropic. Philanthropic means not for any profit. I've done it only as a part of some contribution. but not for deriving any benefit from there. Correct, my dear friends? And very clearly, there is no commercial gain to Shiva Teja what is coming. Correct, my dear friends? Then if these conditions are satisfied, straight away we will say it is not a supply. Obviously, my dear friends, lot of time to temple or any mosque or any church, people keep giving donations, or to any charitable institution or any NGO. Correct, right? People keep giving donations. Now, when they give donations in the donor list, when they display the name of the donor, when they display the name of the donor, or they put a nameplate, or they put a nameplate telling Shiva Teja donated 1 lakh, that doesn't mean that the transaction is regarded as supply. This is an interesting clarification what they have given, my dear friends. Interesting. So these are all special points in the concept of supply. Important. Without knowing this, I cannot complete the revision on supply. Makes sense, right? Come on, let's look at the next one. So now let me revise the balance points also in the concept of supply and then close with this topic of revision on the concept of supply. Come on. So friends, I explained you already about section 7.1, 7.1a also. Let me tell you what is 7.2, my dear friends. 7.2 has got 7.2a and 7.2b. 7.2b, in simple words, they say notified statutory activities undertaken so come on, 7.2b says certain notified statutory activities undertaken by government are neither regarded as supply of goods, nor supply of service. That means what? It is not a supply of goods, it is not a supply of service. And if it is not a supply of goods and not a supply of service, the logic is very clear that GST will not apply, because ultimately GST will apply only if the transaction is supply of goods or it should be a supply of service. If it is not a supply of goods, not a supply of service, then the question of GST will not arise. Now listen, an interesting point, let me tell you friends. In this context, recently they have notified activities performed by municipality or panchayat. They are notified statutory activities so far. If they are undertaken by the government, that means the activities performed by panchayat or activities performed by municipality are neither regarded as supply of goods nor regarded as supply of service. That's it, my dear friends. Come on. Now, section 7.2a, read with schedule 3, my dear friends, deals with what are the transactions which are neither regarded as supply of goods nor regarded as supply of service. That means it is not goods, it is not service. That means GST will not apply. In this, my dear friends, we have got some good number of points. The first point was basically service by employee to employer in the course of employment. So any service given by employee to employer in the course of employment will not attract GST. That is the reason why practically, my dear friends, very clearly salaried employees do not pay GST at all. And the reason is very clear: services by employee to employer in the course of employment. Number 2, service by court or tribunal. Sir, if you want to file a case in the court of law, we are required to pay some fees called court fees. Now on that court fees, GST will not apply. Next, services by MPs, MLA or any public servant, or my dear friends, any person who holds a position as per Constitution of India. Example, President, Vice President, Speaker, C&AG, Comptroller and Auditor General, they are holding the position as per Constitution of India. Next, sale of land and building. Sir, on sale of land and building, GST will not apply. But please keep in mind, GST will apply only in case of construction services. That is why real estate companies who are constructing commercial or residential complex, they pay GST. However, one special point to be noted there is that if entire consideration is received after completion or occupancy certificate, then GST will not apply. That is why practically in simple terms, to revise, what we tell is that even if 1 rupee also is received prior to completion certificate, then GST will apply on the entire amount. But if entire consideration is received after issuance of completion certificate or occupancy certificate, then GST will not apply. That is why practically, my dear friends, construction companies, if they collect entire consideration after issuance of occupation certificate or completion certificate, they do not charge GST at all. That is why practically we see some name boards, flat for sale, no GST. That is because they would have already got occupancy certificates. Clear? Come on. So first point is what? Employee to employer. Second, court or tribunal. MPs, MLAs, public servant. Next one, sale of land and building. Except construction services. Next one, my dear friends, actionable claims other than betting, gambling, lottery. So in this context, some interesting concept to be noted is something like this. Listen please. Sir, when we talk about actionable claims other than betting, gambling, lottery, strictly speaking, if you look at definition of goods, they use the word goods cover every kind of movable property other than money and securities, but includes actionable claims. That means actionable claim is covered in definition of goods, and generally actionable claim means a claim to an unsecured debt which can be enforced in the court of law. Generally, secured debts are enforced in the court of law, but actionable claim basically means an unsecured debt which can be enforced in the court of law. That is actually a good. But here we are telling it is neither a supply of good nor a supply of service. That means GST will not apply. But GST will apply on betting, gambling, lottery. And especially, my dear friends, in India we have got one state called Kerala. And in Kerala, extensive lottery activity goes on. So on that betting, gambling, lottery, GST will apply. Next point. Services of funeral, burial, crematorium, mortuary. So mortuary service, we would have seen in a lot of movies, especially South Indian movies. Yeah, funeral, burial, crematorium, mortuary, including transportation of deceased. Transportation of deceased means transportation of the person who has died. In exam, don't write the spelling DISCASCD. It is DECASCD. DISCA means he is not gone. He may or may not go. But DECA means already gone. Next, supply of warehoused goods. Supply of what, my dear friends? Warehoused goods. What is warehouse goods? Warehouse goods basically means goods are imported by importer, and importer has filed bill of entry for warehousing, and the goods are put in warehouse, and there is a supply of warehouse goods before clearance for home consumption. On that supply, GST will not apply. Next, my dear friends, high sea sales. High sea sales is something like goods are not yet reached India, and when the goods were in transit to India, they are sold to some other person. So goods are yet to reach India. Before they reach India only they are sold. And previous point is they reached India and the goods are put in warehouse and they are sold before clearance for home consumption. And last one, supply from a place in non-taxable territory to another place in non-taxable territory. That means, my dear friends, in simple words, for example, Shivateja is in India and I purchase goods from, come on my dear friends, Shivateja is in India, I purchase goods from Japan and I'm not bringing them to India. From Japan, I'm sending them to US. Shivateja procured goods from Japan, and from Japan, I'm not bringing the goods to India. From Japan, directly I'm taking the goods to US. Technically, we call this concept as out and out supplies. What do we call it, my dear friends? Technically, we call it as out and out supplies. And why we call it out and out? Because the goods never touched India, never reached India. They started from foreign country and they are going to another foreign country, but they never touched India. That is why we call it as out and out supply, my dear friends. Clear, right? And last 3 points are latest introduction points, important. Supply of warehouse goods before clearance for home consumption. Next point is high sea sales. And last one, supply from a place in non-taxable territory to another place in non-taxable territory. That's it. Come on. Next, my dear friends. 7.1 is over. 7.1a is done. 7.2 also is done. And last point, my dear friends, 7.3, sir, in this nothing is there. Simple concept, my dear friends, which says that central government on the recommendations of GST Council. I'm sure you know what is GST Council. GST Council is a group where central and state members together sit and take the decisions. And central, there are 2 members, Union Minister of Finance and Minister of State for Finance. And state side, there is every state representative. And central members together, they have got a weight of 1/3. And all state members together, they have got a weight of 2/3. But ultimately, to pass a resolution, there should be 3/4 majority. Now here, the interesting point what I want to tell you is that central government may, on the recommendation of the GST Council, they can notify a transaction as supply of goods and not supply of service. Or they notify a transaction as supply of service but not supply of goods. They kept this point in the law so that in the future, if you start fighting saying it is goods, no, it is service. No, this is service. No, this is goods. If you start fighting like that, central government will interfere. They can, on the recommendation of GST Council, notify a transaction as supply of goods and not supply of service, or a transaction as supply of service and not supply of goods. That's it. These are the major interesting points in the concept of supply dealt by section 7, my dear friends, which I definitely wanted to revise for you so that you get a complete clarity of thought on this concept of supply. Sir, the idea of revision is very simple. Again, I am telling you last time, this is only to make sure that whatever concepts we learn, we'll revise once again and become perfect. And somewhere some gap is there, that gaps are also filled. That's all. Come on. So in this topic of supply, my dear friends, there is one section called section 8, which talks about the taxability of composite supply and mixed supply. And we always say, my dear friends, composite supply is taxed. Come on, please listen. Composite supply is taxed at rate of principal supply. Come on, sir. Composite supply is taxed at the rate of what, sir? Principal supply. Whereas mixed supply is taxed at highest rate. Now first let me elaborate the concept to you. I'm sure most of you already know this concept, but still, as a matter of my duty, as a matter of revision strategy, let me revise once. Sir, this word composite supply is defined by section 230, which says composite supply is a case where 2 or more taxable supplies are naturally bundled. 2 or more taxable supplies are naturally bundled, and one of which is a principal supply. Correct, my dear friends? Come on, what is composite supply? Composite supply is a supply where 2 or more supplies are naturally bundled, and one of which is a principal supply. And the principal supply word is defined by section 290, which says principal supply is that supply which is predominant in nature and others are only ancillary. Classic example, my dear friends, when we go to a hotel for an accommodation for one night stay. For example, along with the stay, they also provide complimentary breakfast. In that case, accommodation service is regarded as principal supply and the complimentary breakfast is regarded as ancillary. In that case, my dear friends, we will tax at the rate of principal supply. One more example, when we go for a travel, be it by aircraft or train or by bus, along with the journey, they may also provide food. In that, principal supply is, my dear friends, the travel or journey. The food what they provide is only ancillary. And law clearly told composite supply is taxable at the rate of principal supply. And it is very important to check two things. One, whether they are naturally bundled or not. Second, to identify what is principal supply. For example, my dear friends, in case of retreading of tires, in case of what, my dear friends? Retreading of tires, the principal supply is service, my dear friends. The rubber used for retreading is only ancillary. Retreading is a case where the old tires they'll modify and get the grip again. Service element is predominant. Rubber is only ancillary. But when you go to a shop and buy an old retreaded tire, it becomes supply of goods. So whether what is principal supply depends upon type of transaction, my dear friends. See, for example, I go to a Xerox center and I take a photocopy of 10 papers. That fellow is giving me paper also and the service of photocopying also. In that, principal supply is service. The paper is only ancillary. Correct, right? Exactly. For example, my dear friends, when I take a class, for example, you pay some price to buy the videos, not revision videos, the regular videos. You pay the price and get the videos. Along with the videos, you will also get the books also. The books is a goods. But the predominant element is the lecture and the videos, and the service what I am giving, the books is only ancillary. Getting clarity, right? Very interesting point. Come on. Now what is mixed supply? Mixed supply is defined by 274, which says two or more supplies. It need not be taxable, my dear friends. Two or more supplies are supplied together for a single price, then we call it as mixed supply, my dear friends. And mixed supply is always taxable at highest rate. And the classic example for this is when we go to a sweet shop, we find a box of cashew, pista and badam, all three packed in a box. Cashew, pista and almonds, all three packed in a box, and they are sold for a single price. Now you can't tell that they are naturally bundled, because separately also cashew, pista, almonds are available, and moreover in that you can't tell what is principal supply. Then in that case, my dear friends, we call it as mixed supply. And if it is mixed supply, it becomes taxable at highest rate. So we will see the rate of GST for cashew, badam and pista, and then decide which rate is highest, and the highest rate will apply for the entire box of cashew, almonds and pista. One more example, guys. If toothpaste and toothbrush are combined together in a box and supplied, then we call it as a mixed supply, my dear friends, because that is two or more supplies given for a single price, and in that you can't tell they are naturally bundled, and you can't identify what is composite supply. Then we call it as mixed supply, and if it is mixed supply, it is always taxable at highest rate, my dear friends. That's it. That is the story of section 8, my dear friends. Section 8A deals with the taxability of composite supply, and 8B deals with the taxability of mixed supply. That's all. So friends, on this concept of supply, it is very important that you learn two important sections, section 7, section 8. Section 7 predominantly deals with the concept of supply, read with schedule 1, 2 and 3. Schedule 1 deals with transactions regarded as supply even though there is no consideration. Schedule 2 deals with transactions which are either regarded as supply of goods or regarded as supply of service. Schedule 3 deals with transactions which are neither regarded as supply of goods nor regarded as supply of service. That's it, my dear friends. And of course, Section 8 deals with the concept of taxability of composite supply and mixed supply. Composite supply is taxable at the rate of principal supply, and mixed supply is taxable at highest rate. That's it. That is the end of revision on this concept of supply. I'm sure we got full clarity, my dear friends. That's it. I'll stop here and I'll come back once again in front of you with another fantastic and exciting video on revision of another interesting topic. And I've planned for a series of videos covering all the major important topics of GST and customs, so that these revision videos will be very, very helpful for you. Clear? So wish you all the very best, wish you all success. See you all very soon with another fantastic and exciting topic with another interesting video. Bye-bye. Thank you.